Welcome to Redesigning Health and Home. My name's Kerri, and I'm here with my good friend and co host, Meg. How are you doing today, Meg?
I am so great, Carrie. I'm excited to be talking to you about more of our fall series. How about you? What's going on in your world?
Yes, I'm excited about fall as well. We're at the end of September when we're recording this, and all kinds of birthdays happening for all of our kids in October, right?
Coming up.
This is birthday month for all of our kids. So that's coming up. But I'm excited to discuss fall decor, one of my favorite seasons to decorate. But before we get to that, I want you to share with our listeners about sneaks. What the heck are sneaks?
You and I were talking about it because I have an event coming up and it's almost where I want to dress kind of cute, but also I know we're going to be walking. So the girlfriend that I'm going with, she was telling me she's going to wear gym shoes.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, oh, I just don't really want to wear gym shoes with this outfit, but I probably will just because we'll be on foot for a lot of it. But it reminded me that Sarah Blakely, the owner of Spanx, about a year ago, she started her new company called Sneaks. It's Sneex. And I follow her on LinkedIn and I know she celebrated the 1 year anniversary of Sneaks. So I've been following. They are pretty interesting. You have to look them up. They're a gym shoe with a pretty high stiletto heel
Yes.
and lots of different colors and
They're
kind of fun.
adorable.
So if I was ahead of my trip here or my event, I might have looked into maybe doing something like that.
Yeah, I hope they are super comfortable. I hadn't heard about them until Meg mentioned them and I looked them up. You have to look them up. They're adorable, actually. I think they're super cute. Not at all what I expected when you mentioned it,
Right?
but yeah, they're very fun. I hope they're really comfortable because they're so adorable.
I think when her story about the shoe before she released them, because she did this little countdown,
Uh-huh.
something's exciting coming. And it was years in the making about the technology and the comfort and the design.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I mean, and her Spanx company is so
Yeah.
big and popular, and people just eat up her products. So, these have to be.
Yeah, we talked about the lounge set, the Air Essentials lounge set, which is a Spanx
What is the
product as
lounge set
well.
called again?
Air Essentials. Yeah.
That
Doesn't
sounds
that
great.
sounds luxurious, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. Well, Carrie, okay, so fall decor, Homestyle with Carrie, we've talked to you, to your company about the spring lookbooks and then moving into summer, what is fashionable in the city and at home. And I'm very curious what you would have to say all about fall colors, fall textures, anything you can think about and maybe how the five senses play into that. What can you share? I'm going to sit back and just listen to what you have to say.
Well, when I was thinking about how best to break this down, because there's so many fun things to talk about, what occurred to me was breaking it down by area in your home. So let's start with the front door because that's how we all get in the house and where our guests come in. So making that front door inviting and welcoming is just a great place to start. So this is a perfect time for me to ask you what's on your front door, Meg.
I wish something beautiful. Do you have any suggestions? No, I don't have anything.
Well, I'm so glad you asked because I actually do have a suggestion. My beautiful sister Barbara has an Etsy shop called Twig and Vine by Barbara, and she has been working so hard at some beautiful creations for wreaths that can be everyday wreaths or seasonal wreaths, as well as these beautiful bows she makes with crystal buttons in the center, and she's got whimsical ones and holiday ones and just everyday ones, and they're so beautiful you can put them on a wreath or on the coach lights on your garage or the front of your house, or maybe you tie them onto some lanterns that you have on your front step. So many great uses for these beautiful bows she makes, but the wreaths really are kind of her signature thing. So if you're looking for some inspiration or looking to get something fresh for your front door, check out Barbara's Etsy shop, which is Twig and Vine by Barbara. Once you've got something beautiful on your front door, though, how about layering up those rugs on the front step? Whether you
Oh,
have just one rug or you want to layer them up for a little bit more fun texture look, maybe a textured rug on the base and a smaller patterned rug, or a rug that's got your initial on it for your last name, or welcome fall, or whatever kind of aesthetic that you have. And some people love to really go crazy and put bales of hay and pumpkin scapes and all the things. So just depending on what your particular design style is. So the front door is a great place to start your decorating. And then when you come in that front door, what is in your entryway? Do you have a cozy chair that you could drape a nice textured blanket over and put a little pillow there that's either textured or a fall color, maybe a rich brown or one of those jewel tones that's popular this year. And something on your console table, whether it's candles or some of the really natural items like pine cones and grasses and that sort of thing. So bringing some of the outdoors in, because fall is all about harvest. It's about bounty and bringing some of that nature in. So that's a really great place to add some fall is right when you first walk into the door.
that reminds me, Carrie, in our spring episode when we talked about the spring lookbook, and you talked about bringing the outside in. You're talking about the console and the pine cones and the coziness on your entryway, the chair and the blanket. I can see all of those delicious fall colors just making their way in your house to warm it up. So, speaking of, what kind of colors are we expected for fall of 2025?
Right. So, of course, there's your typical fall colors, the burnt oranges and the pumpkin orange and marigold and browns and that sort of thing. But if you go check out some of the lookbooks online, some of the retail stores, the websites, Pottery Barn's a great example. They have a beautiful fall lookbook that's got four different categories or four different styles, I would say, that they break down their fall items into, and it's just a delicious way to take a look at what sort of things are out there for this wonderful fall season. So that's a great place to look. A lot of jewel tones, so the burgundies, the navy, sapphires, teal, and into the more neutral tones with the sage greens and the soft browns and kind of golden creams and all those things. And of course, blue always has its place as well. So, depending which kind of style you like or which color palette you like, they have something for all of them. So, even if you don't spend a penny anywhere, it's just a fun thing to do. Sit down with a cup of your favorite drink and a cozy chair and take a little flip through their virtual lookbook is a fun thing to do for some inspiration too. But speaking of the entryway, and blankets, if you don't have a chair in your entryway, which we do not, a nice wicker basket with some textured blankets kind of draped over the edge is a really pretty addition beside your fireplace or beside your front entry table or beside your sofa. So there's lots of places to add those kind of cozy things. And then as you're moving into your living spaces where we want to snuggle in with our favorite book or watch our favorite TV show, we're thinking about the cozy pillows. So switching them out for those delicious neutral tones or the fall tones in maybe textures that are a little bit more comfy, chenilles and faux fur and velvet. So that's a great way to add some nice comfy texture as well as all those blankets that you're going to want to layer up on your sofa. And then I like to take a tray. I have some wooden trays that I like. I also have some marble trays and add some pretty decorative items on there. So it might be a scented candle in a fall scent, like I think you mentioned apple pie, or it could be pumpkin spice, or it could be any of those delicious smells for fall. And you could even go get some pine cones out of your yard, or you can also buy pine cones, but to make an interesting tray with some little decorative items on there. Doesn't have to be a lot, but something in the center of the table just kind of cozies things up as well. Don't forget about your art. Maybe you want to switch out your art, your pillows, your blankets. You mentioned lighting, even if it's just candles or candle sconces, that can just bring so much kind of romance, but also that real cozy, by the fire sort of feeling. So those are the kind of tips I would have for living spaces. And then moving into your bedroom, that's a real great place to cozy it up, thinking especially of your bedding. So, from the very base layer, would you enjoy a heated mattress pad? They have those. We have one of those. And each side you can control separately, which is perfect because I run a little on the hot side. My husband runs a little on the cold side, to flannel sheets, and then layering up those duvets and blankets and delicious pillows and all the things, and just really layering it on there so that you can control the temperature, but it also just looks so inviting, right?
That is wonderful advice. I like it. And I know as we've talked in the past, I'm very probably monotone, but you
Uh-huh.
made me think about when you were talking about the textures, the chenille, the faux fur, that maybe that would be a good spot if I didn't want to go full blown orange and maroon.
Absolutely, right. So if those jewel tones don't speak to you and you like neutrals, I love a neutral palette. I think they're absolutely beautiful. Think texture. That's what's really going to break it up and bring in the interest. So those chunky knit blankets or the faux furs or the chenilles, draping those over your sofa, maybe swapping your pillows out for something that's a little more nubbly, a little bit more textured is a really great addition as well. So if you aren't into a lot of color, then really lean into the textures and maybe layer the neutrals. So if you have off-white furniture, for example, maybe you just want a soft brown and just a lightest shade of tan, that's barely away from an ivory, but just a tiny bit of color to add in there. And it's amazing. You can put a white pumpkin on a wooden tray in the center of your coffee table, and even just that just brings in the fall season and just elevates the space a little bit without having to be too much.
That sounds so pretty. I like that. Now, for a practical question,
Mhm,
because we are getting into the cooler temperatures and we want to bring out these blankets and
mhm.
pillows, where are we putting them?
Where in the world are we putting them all? So, for actually having them out in your home in fall and winter and even into the beginning of the cool spring, I like to find a pretty way to display them that's still super easy to grab when you want to use them. So, for example, in one of our rooms, we have a blanket ladder. It's a wooden blanket ladder, so it adds some nice texture. It's got, I think, space for 4 blankets on there, and I've chosen colors that look nice together, but they're all different textures. And that's just a really fun way to display them. I mentioned the wicker baskets. There's so many just gorgeous baskets out there now. The tall ones that you can layer those blankets in, kind of drape it over the edge of the basket, artfully kind of lay it across the arm of your sofa. I remember my grandparents used to have a blanket stand. I think it was just a wooden blanket stand. It kind of looked like a sawhorse for the blankets, but that's a great way to display your blankets as well, because you want to be able to quick grab them, but maybe not have it just a jumbled heap of blankets all over the sofa. So that's a great way to do it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And you mentioned same thing about pillows, or what would you do about that?
So I do like to swap out my pillows seasonally, but yes, then it's where in the world do you store them? So if you can buy the inserts of the pillows and the covers separately, that's a great way to do it, because then all you have to store is the pillow cover. You just zip it off, put it in a bag or in a plastic container to keep it nice and clean for the next season. But if you buy a pillow that comes with the insert, what do you do with it? So I like to use those vacuum seal bags. You put them in there, you use your vacuum hose to take all the air out, and it squishes them flat. And surprisingly, they pop right back up when you when you need them. If it was a real special fabric, you might not want to do that, but for most pillows it's totally fine. And then it at least stores flat. They can go under a bed, in a storage room, in a closet, wherever.
That's brilliant. I like that a lot. And for sun goes down a lot earlier in many places. And what are you doing? Are you turning lights on all over? Or are you just having it kind of dim and quiet in your house? What is the thought about
Yeah.
lighting?
I like I like both of those things, and I think what kind of welcomes both of those, that cozy, dim feeling, but also some romantic light, are candles, whether they're real or battery. Battery obviously is a little bit safer. I have a couple of candle sconces on either side of a piece of art, and those candles are controlled with a remote control. And you can even get candles with different settings of brightness, and some even have the little wick that sways to look like a real candle. So that's just a nice way to bring in that real soft light. We have a piece of art that has a picture light over it. That too is controlled by a remote with varying levels of brightness. So, any way that you can bring in some of that romantic, cozy light that kind of reminds us of a fire, right? Our husbands both love fires, just brings in that nice, cozy feeling without having to have bright lights on all over the place. So, that's probably how I would do it.
Perfect. Makes sense. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a fireplace, we had a wonderful gas fireplace in Washington, and it just had this little box. You flipped a switch, and
Yeah.
whoop. I would turn that on, and it had a dial, so the flame
Nice.
would be low or big.
Yeah.
I didn't use it in the summer, probably winter and fallish. I mean, I was flipping that thing on all the time because you felt the warmth, but
Yes.
it just felt so cozy in the
It
house.
does, it really does, and if you don't have a fireplace, but you want that look, go to YouTube and search, fireplace scene. They've got these beautiful ones on, that's
Yeah.
crackling, and they've got kinda music in the background, and those are just really fun to put on. They've got holiday ones and all kinds of great things, so that's a fun thing to do if you don't have a fireplace, but you kinda want, the look of a fireplace, so you can always, check out good old YouTube, YouTube University. It has everything.
It has everything. Yes. I'm trying
Right.
to think fall decor. Are we painting or is there any sort of things to look out for in that area?
So it's interesting that you mentioned that because I think before we jumped on today, Meg was the one who told me that the color of the year for Sherwin-Williams is out.
Universal khaki
Universe.
for 2026.
Right, right.
But yeah, that's kind of in the neutral family where you were saying about the gray.
So Universal Khaki, 2026 color of the year, according to Sherwin-Williams. So we're headed back in the brown directions. We went into gray for a number of years. And so now by they, I mean the retail industry, likes to keep us on our toes as to what's new and next. And so gray was super popular, a lot of furnishings in that color, walls painted that color. Everyone switched over to silver metallic finishes. And now you've probably already noticed that the golds are back in, and now the brown shades warmer brown shades are coming back in. So I do tend to like those warmer brown shades, but if you blend gray and beige together, you get grayish, and that actually is a color. so
Yeah.
so it's gray with the browns behind it too, which is kind of a nice intermediate, I would say. So I think, yeah, the neutrals are definitely leaning towards that warmer golden brownish glow, which is so cozy for fall. So
So
cozy.
cozy for fall.
Yes.
Yes. Now, this is has nothing to do with fall. It just made me think when you said golds and
Mhm.
silvers. What do you think about mixed metals?
I am all about the mixed metals. Yeah. If you want to mix metals, I think you should go for that. If that somehow bothers you, then don't do it. But I have no problem with mixed metals. In fact, jewelry that has more than one color of metal, I think is lovely. So, yeah, I have no problem with mixing metals. I actually think it makes a room even more interesting. So, that's
More
my
interest.
opinion.
I am on that path, sidewalks, whatever we're saying, train. Yes. And it's funny because recently, before we moved in Washington, we updated a bathroom.
Mhm.
And I cannot tell you how much you helped me as well as AI because you helped me with sizing and the
Mhm.
mirror height and the size of the mirrors. It was amazing. Kerri, we need to just like Barb's wreath business, Homestyle with Kerri is amazing. She was such an amazing help. So thank you so much.
Oh,
'Cause the bathroom was beautiful,
well,
so beautiful.
you have great taste. You did a great job in choosing
It
all your
was beautiful, so thank you for that, but actually, we did not do mixed metals,
Mhm.
but I really was looking into it. It just I think our time frame and I probably wanted to do more research than the people helping me actually
Mm,
do the work were
right,
willing to put up with.
right, right.
So, yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah, very
So thank you for
fun.
your help with that.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. So much fun to work on any of those projects like that.
We should do a whole episode and you can we can walk through about what suggestions and how you did the spacing and that'd be
That would
fun.
that sounds very fun. That sounds very fun. I wanted to mention one more thing about fall decor. We haven't popped into the kitchen yet. We've mentioned all these rooms, but in the kitchen, I think one of my favorite things to do is just to really bring some of the fall onto the table.
Pretty.
Whether you're just putting a bit of a centerpiece for every day or you're layering up a pretty table because you're having guests over. It's such a great place to bring in some just little special touches, whether it's leaves on the table or leaves a leaf pattern on your napkins or on your napkin rings or something. I mean, how about the leaves? Like, talk about Mother Nature's way of adding some art. Just it's free. You look outside and it's free, and you take a drive and there it is. And so we just are so attracted to that because it's so beautiful. And so bringing a little bit of that into your home, why not? It's a pretty thing to do. So I'm gonna go out today and cut some of our grasses. We have tall, fuzzy grasses that my husband's gonna just chop down soon. So I'm going to rescue some and put them in the urns on either side of the front door just to add in that pretty fall texture beside the front door, and it's free.
It's free. Will you use your table rod for your
Yeah, I
parties in
do.
the fall?
I don't have any plans for that. The only kind of party we have planned is a chili cook-off, which is a little bit more casual.
Mhm.
But I can imagine, especially for a buffet style, for like a Friendsgiving or
Oh.
Thanksgiving, it could be so pretty. I've got these lights that are little tiny acorns, each one. They're so adorable. And they're just a power pack. But the little acorns kind of wind those through a garland
Oh,
and put that over the over table rod just would be really, really pretty. So
so
there's so
fun.
many fun things. And if you're looking for inspiration, check out Pinterest. Pinterest has a wealth of ideas and just, I mean, people are so creative. There's so many great ideas there. So that, or check out the lookbooks. Like I mentioned, Pottery Barn. I think Anthropology has some really interesting ones too. Restoration Hardware, depending
Oh.
what kind of taste you like, what styles you like. All of those websites are eager to show you what styles are out there right now.
Yeah, and I would probably even think you could just go into the stores because all the fall and cozy winter
Yes.
looks are starting to come out or are
Yeah.
out, I should
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, I wish we lived closer together, Meg. We could go together. I love just taking a little browse around Home Goods or any of those stores. So there's lots of pretty little mom and pop boutiques that you can go and take a look at, and just a fun little field trip in the fall.
Absolutely. Well, this has been so helpful. Thank you for all of your tips. And I love that, pumpkin on a tray with the white.
Oh,
That's so cute.
yes,
I'm going to
yes,
make
yeah.
that happen, I think.
All right. Well, be sure to post a picture of it.
I will. Okay, now I have to be accountable. This has been great. Well, Carrie, is there any last little bits, or do you think you've shared what you wanna share?
Just whether you're a minimalist or a maximalist or somewhere in the middle, just bring in the things that make you feel cozy and like you're celebrating the season. And if it makes you happy, it should be in your home. I think that's my takeaway.
I like that motto. If it makes you happy, it should be in your home. That's
For sure.
perfect. Well,
Right.
thank you for that little gem of advice, and we will wrap this up. It was great talking with you, Carrie. And everyone, if you've enjoyed this episode, we'd encourage you to share and rate and review. If you have a few seconds to spare, we'd appreciate it. And we will see you next Friday.
See you next Friday.
Thanks for listening to the Redesigning Health and Home podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, we would love for you to like, share, and follow along so you can catch us on all future episodes. You can find me, Meg, at Fit, Fed, Feeling Good on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
And you can find me, Kerri, on my website at homestylewithkerri.com and on Instagram and Facebook at Homestyle with Kerri. That's Kerri. And you can find both of us at Redesigning Health and Home on Instagram and Facebook. So join us next time for more inspiration on creating a home and a lifestyle that truly supports your best self.